Okay, welcome to May 3rd's Fuse training. We are going to be talking about electronic transactions and transaction desk and e-signatures and all that new stuff that is coming down the pike. It's a little confusing at first, but once you guys get a hang of it, I really like it. It's a good way to keep your documents in one place, make sure they're all there. It's really easy to pull them up at any time. The hard part is just kind of getting it set up and then kind of figuring out where all the buttons are. It drives me crazy when there are icons on things and no words, because who knows what the icon means. I don't know if it's just for people that are illiterate, or they can use it, I guess, in multiple languages. But yeah, a lot of software, just too many icons. So I'll kind of help you with transaction desks. Now there's form simplicity out there as well. So we're going to use transaction desk as an example, but there's a lot of different platforms you can use. The e-signature in transaction desk is just as easy as DocuSign. So, I mean, again, a lot of different technologies, but they're all kind of the same. So we'll use transaction desk because the Northwest MLS uses it and the Spokane MLS uses it. And Idaho folks and Portland folks, go ahead and just kind of follow along. Hopefully transaction desk is used by the majority of MLSs. It's a free service, so we finally get something out of our MLSs for all those fees that we pay. And so you don't have to pay DocuSign. If you guys have DocuSign, think about getting rid of it and just using transaction desk. Okay, so you guys see the Fuse training there. We're just going to go over setting up a transaction in transaction desk, adding forms, typical forms that are needed, uploading PDFs as part of the transaction, and designing and signing with email and electronic signatures. I apologize for my voice. I have got bad allergies, so it's kind of like having a cold. But you guys hopefully can hear me and understand me okay. All right, well, let's dive in. So I've kind of pulled it up. I'm going to go through the Spokane Association. Northwest MLS just has a transaction desk link to it as well. So you just basically click on transaction desk. Let me maximize this and let it load. Okay. So there's an agent dashboard. See, I'm going to have to minimize this. There we go, so I can see what I'm doing. Agent dashboard. I also have access to everybody's files. So if I switch it, let's see, menu, view as a broker dashboard, I can see basically everyone's stuff that you're doing. So I can impersonate you guys, so don't be freaked out by that, but it just means that I can go in and see what you're doing, and if I need to sign something or make some changes, I can do that. Again, if you're on vacation or someone can't get a hold of you, I can see your transaction and I can do what's necessary to keep it going along. But in this case, I'm going to view as an agent, so it's just me, and this is what you guys are going to see when you're out there. Again, Alex, let me know if there's a question that comes on, because I've minimized my chat room because I want to see my whole page here. So just let me know. Okay, so agent dashboard, and this is basically where you started. All your forms are going to be in here. Your transactions are going to be in here. Basically, everything you do is going to be saved in your dashboard. And here's a little icon on the left. Looks like a dashboard. If you go to the home button, you'll see your transactions. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start a new transaction and just kind of go through it. Okay, so let's go back here. Loading, transaction, go to transactions, create a transaction. So here we go. Pretty simple. You just do that, and we'll do Kelly. You can do it by address as well. I'm still not quite sure which one I'm going to do. Residential sale, residential listing. I'm going to turn my phone off. Okay. This case, let's do a residential listing. Select a source. This is kind of slick. So here, you can just basically select an MLS number. So if you go back here and there's an MLS number in Paragon you want. Same with Matrix. You can go into Matrix and find a, let's see, MLS listings. We'll do a, no, I don't want to do that.
Hey, Joe?
Yeah.
What's the difference between this and paperless pipeline? Joseph wants to know.
Oh, okay. Paperless pipeline is just a way to upload, scan and upload and store documents. It's not a way to manipulate them and save them and email them to clients. So paperless pipeline is just, that's where we store everything. Just upload it there. If you don't want to store it there or you don't want to get into paperless pipeline, just email us the file. Scan it, email us. We'll create it and we'll keep it for you. So let me go back into here. Let's search our maintain listings. Let's see. So I'll take a listing. Let's see, 201.216.14120. There. And so we go back in here, and if you just put in the MLS number, 201.6.14120, and show as the list agent, you can create a file. You can also do it off of, and it'll pull up all that information from the MLS. The other way to do it is through the tax records. So tax records there, put a tax ID in here, and all that information will pull up. I've got one coming up here, so just follow with me, and I'll go through it. Let's see, got to move that over here. If you ever wonder how to find information, just go to the assessor, their website, assessor, I can spell. Okay. Duh. Okay, and this Spokane's assessor is pretty slick. You can use maps, you can use all sorts of stuff. Keene County's is pretty good. I haven't been in a while at Multnoma's, but they're all kind of the same. You can get a parcel. So my neighbor is thinking about selling his house. I guess I'm going to give you guys some information, so if you call him, say hi. Okay, so there he is right there. There's his parcel. And it comes up, the guy's a 92-year-old doctor, so his house needs to get sold. But his parcel number is right there, 34042. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, go back to my transaction desk, and put that in there, paste. Okay, now I'm ready to create this listing. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, let's minimize this guy again. Okay, so here you go. Then you've got this transaction. You just kind of fill out all the different boxes. So in this case, it is a residential listing number. Don't have that yet. But go ahead and just fill everything out in here. Listing price, let's say he wants to sell it for $389. And purchase price, we don't need that yet. So now let's go on to the next tab. List date, we'll say today. Expiration date, always have to have an expiration date in there. And we'll say tomorrow, because we're going to sell it fast. Purchase sale agreement, we don't have that. Offer expiration, so we don't have any of that yet. So we're going to hit next. Okay, so all this information is in here. Gordon is my seller, and I'll be the listing broker. So all that looks good. Kelly Wright Real Estate of Spokane, that looks good. So everything's in there. Hit next. Forms. Here we go. Now, we need to add some forms. So let's go ahead and add the forms that are going to be necessary. We have our statewide forms here. We have our local forms here. Again, every MLS is going to be different. They're going to upload their own forms, and so you'll have to go with what you're used to. In this case, we'll do an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Okay, let's add that, and let's add more forms because they are going to need to do, let's see, Form 17, their disclosure. So again, Idaho, Oregon, a little bit different forms, but pretty much the same, just different numbers. And so we've got Form 17, seller disclosure. And in this case, it's an older house, so let's do a lead-based paint Addendum. There we go. Okay, we're going to add those. So our listing is getting there. Now, again, there's not an Exhibit A yet, but I'll go through that here in a little bit. But these are the forms that we want to get set. We're going to hit Next. Fax cover sheets, I don't know who uses that, but go ahead and use one if you want, and then we're done. So now we've got a transaction created. Okay, a listing transaction. There it is. Okay, so those aren't all the forms that we need. We need additional documents. So let's say there's an Exhibit A, and it just needs to be in a PDF. So your documents, you can scan them, you can get them in there as a PDF, whatever, however you keep them. I keep them on my desktop as I'm working with them, and then I put them into a file. So I would put this into, you know, the 4412 South Magnolia listing file, and then go from there if I ever need to get that PDF back. So if you don't know how to create a PDF, let me know. Pretty simple. The software is free. And if you need to scan, the offices have scanners. Most of you guys have scanners at home. So now we've got documents. We've got to add a new document. Okay, this is kind of slick right here. So this is drag and drop files here, or click to upload. Okay, so what I typically do, I will minimize, whoops, I want to minimize that. Let's go back. I'll make it a little smaller. We'll do that, and I'm going to make it even smaller so that I can find it on my desktop. Aha, attached forms. So I put these forms in there, and they will upload. Okay, so now it's uploading. Apparently I've got a very big file, 17 megs. Whoa, wait a second. That's probably too big. I should have looked at that before. Well, let's see, it's making its way through. And really what I want to do is just kind of use this as an example of how you're going to DocuSign or eSign a PDF. Okay, so it's loaded attached forms in there. And again, these aren't the forms you would use for this, but it's what I had. I had a PDF on my desktop, so I thought I would just put it in here. So there, it's just a PDF, and we'll probably, actually I'll go to the Exhibit A if I can get there. Do seller disclosure. So this is typically, again, when you have a client sign the seller disclosure, you create a PDF and upload it into this file. Okay. Got that. And again, I apologize for the delay. I don't know why this is just doing one page at a time. It seems kind of goofy.
Hey, Joe, Lynn has a question when you get a chance. She asked, when was the MLS number? When is the MLS number assigned? How and when? You have
a partial listing, and I can go back to that real quick after I get to the form I want. Yeah, I don't want to keep doing this. We'll just do identification of utilities, do it that way. So I'm going to close this. So to answer your question, Lynn, if you have listings, so you add a new listing or you maintain a listing. So right here, maintaining listings, these are all the listings, and there's hundreds of them. Those are just the active ones. But you can also do a partial listing. So when you do a partial, you create the partial listing, and when you're ready to make it live, so we do this, when you're ready to make it new, I basically just go here and I hit new, and then hit save, and it becomes basically a listing, an active listing. So it won't let you save it until you've got all the fields worked out. I don't want to do that right now because it's just partial. And typically what people are doing, in this case Shannon, is she's got this thing partially saved, but it's probably not ready to go on the market yet. The photos might not be ready. The documents might not be ready. So you can create this thing and keep it in there for months, and then when they're ready to actually list, you just hit new and hit save, and voila, you've got a MLS number created. And then it goes from being a partial listing to being a full listing. So it's long 2016 or 2017 number. Okay, but I don't want to get into that because again we have, yeah, Northwest MLS is similar. I mean, you've got to fill out, Matrix is a little bit different. because you've got to fill out, the fields are kind of in different areas, but it's the same information. So you fill it out and you save it, and then the listing goes live. So again, I'm going to work on Transaction Desk, which is in the Northwest MLS, but again, I can't go through all of them, Frank. So Matrix is a little bit different than Paragon. So I'll try to stay in Transaction Desk the best I can. Okay, so we've got a dashboard, we've got a transaction. Now what we want to do is we want to get these forms signed. So let's say that your client is in, they're in Maui, and so they're on the beach and they're just kind of going, okay, how am I going to sign this stuff on the beach? So, and this one's a little bit goofy. This pen doesn't always work. No. Let's see. So it's this guy, forms. And so let's say we want to assign these guys. Exclusive right to sell, seller disclosure, lead-based paint. Now bear with me. I'm always like, I get confused on this one. Empty, none. Details. Dang it. Let's see, we've got these guys. Signings, dashboard contacts, forms. Let's see here. Why am I? Let's see. Go to details. Nope, don't want those. Back to dashboard. And this is the file. God, I just did this yesterday. Signings. Go to details. And nope. Forms. No, we've already got them in there. And this is why I hate the icons. This guy, add signings, empty, not found. Okay, bear with me here. Let's see, start signing. There we go. Authenticign. Signing name. Okay, so let's say it is Alex. Alex Veselitz. And the transaction, Kelly. Okay, now we save. Okay, so here we go. Signing name is Alex. This is what I was looking for. Sorry about that. I don't know why. I get so confused in this one, so I know that it's confusing for you guys as well. Participants. So here we want to either add a participant or stick with the participants we have. So let's go add a participant. In this case, Gordon, he is the signer. You'll see he's in Maui. I don't need to sign. So it's going to be remote signer, and we're going to add him. Okay. Now this is also a little goofy. I think it's a software glitch because you have to click on this just a few times. So there we go. And so in the red, that's the boxes that need to be filled out. So you don't have to worry about custom signature or any of this other stuff. So I'm going to do Alex. Actually, I'll just do me. J. Kelly at kellywright.com. Okay. So now we've got an email in there, and we're going to save the participant. So you want to put their email in, not yours. You want to put Gordon, but Gordon's a 92-year-old man, so he doesn't have an email. I'm going to have to do it the old school way with him. But now we've got them in there. We've got Gordon signing his listing agreement, all that set, so we'll go on to step 3, documents. Okay, here are the documents that we want him to sign. The exclusive right to sell listing agreement, the Form 17, the lead-based paint, and then the attached forms. So we're going to add those documents. Now it's kind of cool in Transaction Desk. It'll actually just it'll automatically kind of put the signatures where they need to be. And so let's see. Please check everyone you want to sign in the right role. Okay, just Gordon. That's all we want. Okay, so let's make sure we've got all our documents. A little yellow box right there, that means that's the signature box right there. Let's take a look at the document so we can make sure that it is good. Let's see. I don't know why this is so small, but I cannot see it very well. Anyway, that's the exclusive listing form. Actually, I'm going to close this out. Why that doesn't look right. To the signature page. Signatures should be down here. Now, let's close that out. I'm going to go to a different page. Seller disclosure. Okay, I think it's automatic. So what I'm looking for is a little yellow box down there where he's supposed to sign, but I think it shows up automatically. Because whenever the yellow box is there, that's where they're supposed to sign. Now here on this section 4, attached form, so we don't have any signatures on that. And that's where we need to kind of figure out where we're going to have them sign or initial. So like in Exhibit A, you want them to initial anywhere on the page. If you want to do a real estate agency pamphlet, something like that that needs to be initialed, you can put that in there. So all these documents here all needed to be signed, and I needed to create a place for them to sign. So, okay. So we've added those in there. The final step is going to be design. So it's preparing all those documents, and that's where we can really see where we're supposed to be signing. Make sure everything's in the right spaces. They're not signing in the wrong places. So this is going to be our design and setup feature. Okay, so here we go. Now we got that sucker. Okay, so there's the initial right there. So it automatically put in where he is supposed to be initially. So there we go, initial, initial, good. There's the signature. That's where he signs. There's the date. Good, all of this stuff is in there. Good, good, good. So I just verify it. Oh, sign there, perfect. Sign there, good. Lead-based paint form, sign there, initial there, initial there. Okay, so all of that looks good. Now on the PDFs that you've added, so the PDFs don't have the automatic fields, the signature fields, so we have to add signatures to this. And this is where we do drag and drop, okay? So we do drag and drop, and let's say we need an initial on each page. We would do initial here, and then we do the little date guy right there. So that's set up. Go to the next page, we would do initial here and the date here. Okay, and initial here and date here. If there's a section for it, you can just put it over in this section, seller's initials right there, and put the date right there. So you can maneuver and kind of manipulate it however you need to design it. In this case, remember, it's just an example. So we do all that in each of the pages that we need, and then we get down here and it's like, ooh, wait, okay, we got to get a full-on signature. So then this one is a sign here and date it. Okay? So there's initials. I'm not sure what that was. So there's a signature box and then a date box. And then you can also use these X's as well. So if you have something, let's say you go back to the seller disclosure and you need to put an X in there. It's like, okay, I can put an X right there, and I can put an X right there, and I can put an X right there. So you can also do X's and dots and all that good stuff. Okay, so we're designing this sucker. We've got that exclusive right to sell. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, And then here's another signature, so we want them to sign there and there. So I want to get to a page. Now, if there's a page, for example, an Exhibit A. So it's really simple. You've got the Exhibit A. Just go in there and just throw an initial on there. That's all you really need to do. Now, up here, so it says signer, Gordon Moore. If you had more than one signer, you would choose the other signer right here. So, for example, you would do Gordon Moore, sign here. So it has Gordon Moore right there and a date. Now, let's say his wife Alice was also on here. Then I would go to this arrow and I would move down to Alice's name. And then I would do the same thing. Alice then would sign here and she would initial here. Okay? So I don't have an Alice right now because he's a single man. But that's where, if you're doing a couple, that's where you do it. If you're going to do party of 3 or 4, you could probably even fit them in here. I've never done that many. It's usually just 2. Okay, so you basically design the thing and then you hit next. There it is. Okay, so you can send invitations or you can customize your invitations. If you want to customize it, then you can just put a note in there. Hey, I hope you're having fun. Hope you are having fun in Maui. Please sign where indicated. I know I have spelling issues and typing issues, but so you get the idea. Subject, your signatures needed. So you can do something like that and then just save that. Okay, and then we're going to send the invitations. And that's it. So now, authentic sign invitations were successfully sent. Okay, good. So now in my email box, in a couple minutes, there should be this, basically this large document just to e-sign. Okay, so good. Now we have the Alex Veselitz file. Did I say that right, Alex? Sorry. So we have that file ready to go, and it's off in email land, and it's probably in Maui already. So Dr. Gordon could be on the beach. He could pull up his phone. He could pull up his laptop, however he wants to do it, and go, oh, I've got a new email there, and then just click on the signature boxes, and it'll sign automatically for him. When he does that, it gets sent back. I could pull up my email.
I have a question about the disclosures.
Yeah.
If you have a client who's in Maui or not present and they can't fill the disclosures out, how do you normally get those done? And because the checkboxes, normally those aren't automatic.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You can't email them.
On something like that, you'd probably have to have a discussion with them and read over each one. I mean, you could. What I would do is say, okay, I can't get to Maui, and but I need to get these things answered. So I'd go over each one and just say, and I would check them for them. You know, here's the question: has there ever been a leak in the roof? Has there ever been any flooding? Have you ever had any pest problems? No, yes, whatever they're going to be. And then I would go design it and put those X's where they're supposed to be, and then have them sign it.
That makes sense.
You know, if they've got a scanner, if they're at a nice hotel in Maui, they could just probably print it off, do it, and scan it.
Right.
But you're right. If they have no equipment, if they're really out there, but they have cell coverage, you know, there's a way we could get that done as well. Okay. So let me take a little break here. That's the listing, and so it'll automatically come back to me. It'll come back to you, and everything will be signed. And there you've got all that paper saved in Transaction Desk. Okay, so there we are, Transaction Desk. If you ever need to go back to it, you can just reference that right there. And there's your dashboard. Let's see, documents. You can add additional documents. So let's say a new document comes into play, and you can always just drag and drop it right into there, and it'll upload it here. Go to Documents. We can see our documents here, the attached forms. To go back. Okay. forms right here. There are the forms that we have. And so if you ever need to manipulate it, if it's like, oh, we got to, you know, we answered a question wrong, something like that, you can always pull it up here and fix it and resend it. Okay. Dun, dun, dun.
Debbie has a question.
Yeah.
She said adding additional forms is still a little vague. Please explain. So I think she just means going in there and adding, yeah, for instance,
Okay.
the web-based.
Well, actually, that's good because it's confusing. Obviously, it's confusing for me too. But there's two different ways to add forms. Okay, and that's important to know. So if you just go over here to forms, okay, these are the ones that are automatically uploaded from the MLS. So they're clean, they're not faxed, they're not scanned, they're just, if you open them up, you know, they're clean as can be. Boom, all the information's filled in here. You know, you can go ahead and click on whatever you need, VA financing, FHA, cash. So you can create all this, a commission of 20% because we're that good. Selling office commission, 0 because we're not going to pay them anything. No. So that's 6 and 3. Actually, if you don't know, that's where you do, if you're doing a traditional 6% commission, 6 to the listing office and then 3 to the selling office. So you design all this, but you see how clean it is, and that's great. So there's two different ways to bring forms in. Let's go ahead and get out of here. So over here, this is where you bring in new forms or add them right here. So let's say we want to add whatever form. Let's see, go to state forms. Let's add a 22K. Identification of utilities. So we can add that. Okay, so now we have 4 sections in there. And you can just keep doing that. Add, hit the little add button, statewide forms manual, and let's get into these 22s. Let's see, optional clauses. Add that. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, let's do a few more. So we've got lead-based paint in there. Let's say, oh, I don't know, it's a short sale. You know, so we can add that one as well. So all the forms, you guys know the forms. They're all in here, so you can just add them as you go. And again, this is a listing. We'll go through a purchase here in a little bit. Okay, so we're adding these forms, and now there's more in here, optional clauses. And it should autofill. There you go. So there's Gordon's name. There's his address. We want to make sure we get a standard policy and, you know, cellar cleaning, make sure he cleans those goofy carpets. Okay, so you've got all those forms in there. You can save this as well. Over here on File, hit Save, and your information is saved. Just like any software, save it repeatedly so that you're not going to lose it or something's going to happen. So as I add forms, I just save it.
So just the, oh wait, here we go. Just to back up real quick, Lynn says, okay, the client says list the house. There's lots of forms. Just give the basic forms that you want. You want the listing agreement, the exclusive right to sell.
Yep.
You want
the
disclosures, which is the 17.
Yep. Lead-based paint if it's older than 1978. And that's really about it. You can do the Exhibit A. Eventually, the Exhibit A's got to get initialed. You can also do, depending on the state you're in, the law of agency. Let's see here. Do pamphlets. Law of real estate agency pamphlet. So a lot of states require something like this. So we can add that. Optional clauses you don't need at this point. I mean, it's, you know, you don't need that. So we're gonna delete that. Not the basket. Where am I deleting X? Oh, maybe go over here and delete. There we go. Delete. Are you sure you want to delete this item? Yes. Okay. Identification of utilities. Some people add that. It can be added later with the offer. So let's delete that one as well. Delete. Confirm. Yes. Okay. So we've got exclusive right to sell listing agreement. We have a seller disclosure, and that's required, and these two are required in every state. Lead-based paint, that's federal law. So again, if it's a 1920s house, you're going to need to have that in there. I don't know. I've never seen anyone sign it that says, I know of lead-based paint in this house. I mean, we stopped using lead-based paint so long ago, most people just don't even know. It's been covered over 10 times. But the form is still there, so we have to do it. And then the law of real estate agency pamphlet. So that's really it. I mean, that, as far as getting your listing and going out there and getting those initial documents done, that's it. And we'll talk more about listings in private. We kind of went over that in the first week. So if you have specific questions on what forms or a certain scenario that you're working with, just give me a call or send me an email. But in this case, very simple right here, and then we've got the listing. Now, remember, these are the ones that we're adding that are real clean. They're uploaded from the MLS. Now, so let's get out of here. Now, the ugly forms, the PDFs, the ones that have been scanned 10 times, the ones that have been faxed, they're faded, they're scribbled on, all that, we add those down here into the documents. So that's where we drag and drop, okay? So again, you can just go to you can go wherever. Let's see here. I've got my desktop. We could do, let's see, a Paulson sale. There is a Bargain Giant PDF. We'll use that. Get out of there. And then I can drag and drop that right into the box. Voila. And there we are. Okay, so Bargain Giant, that was a letter that needed to be written, and it's basically cleaning up someone's credit. I'll show it to you. Nothing major. It's basically these people needed to pay off a collection so we could do a rapid rescore. If you don't know what that is, if someone has really bad credit, and I look at their credit report, and they've got 3 or 4 Verizon Wireless, didn't pay their JCPenney bill, they're disputing some $80 payment. A lot of times that's what's holding people back. It's driving their credit down to 540, when if they paid that off, it would go up to 680. Really simple things. You guys would be shocked at how simple some of those things are. If you're ever talking to a client that has bad credit, tell them always pay your bills and then fight it after you pay. If they were wrong, if you were misbilled, they can contact the Attorney General. They can contact a lot of different resources to get their money back. But they don't want to fight it too much, because what happens is it just gets sent to collection, it's reported on their credit, and voila, 2 years later they can't buy a house. And that's the case with these people. In their panic, they have to buy a house or they're going to get kicked to the curb. So I'm helping them fix their credit. Just a side note. But, okay, so this is just a PDF. So we'll close it. Now we've got this PDF in here, a document that can be signed in that drag and drop menu when we get to the signatures. Okay, so that is the transaction. Boom, boom, boom. Now you can always go back to a transaction. So this is a little listing that was a referral to me last week. So I go in here and I'm like, okay, we've got the details. Make sure those are all correct. Let's go back here. Oops, Longacre sale. Forms. There are the forms for Jordan. So our disclosure, lead-based paint, identification of utilities, addendum to the purchase and sale agreement. It's a stupid thing we do here in Spokane for those of you not here. And then the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. So that's the stuff I supplied him so that we could get his listing going. And in this case, it was a pretty clean seller disclosure. In this case, I actually printed this up. And I had him sign in person, so it's not the best example. But those forms, you can see that those forms are there.
And for people who don't know, tell them where you get the Exhibit A and how to get that.
Oh, okay. So the Exhibit A, you can order preliminary title with any title company. There was a little confusion when it first came about, when they were just trying to figure out, okay, we have to have an Exhibit A, because before we didn't have to have one. That's a new law of just a few years ago. So you can go to the title company and get a preliminary title that will give you the report and the Exhibit A. The Exhibit A should be the last page on there. So whenever you're doing a new listing, you want to make sure you get that. When you're making an offer on a property, you probably want to make sure that they have that. If they don't, ask, hey, where's the Exhibit A? Where's the title report? Those are the kind of things I want to see if I'm helping my clients. I want to see if there's a cloud on title. I want to see who holds the notes maybe on it, Bank of America, and a second note at a credit union, something like that. All that stuff's going to be recorded on title. You'll also see where easements are, or some sort of problem with the property. It could be as much as a mechanic's lien. So some plumber didn't get paid 10 years ago. Well, that's going to be a lien on the property, and that'll show up on the title report. So I like seeing the title report up front. I typically order it right away, and it just makes it a lot cleaner at that point. So that's where you get the Exhibit A. Okay, so now we're still in transaction desk. Whew. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Actually, I'll go back here and just make sure. Any other questions on that? I'm going to check the chat room here. Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, some of you guys probably know this better than I do. I mean, I'm not the most savvy with technology, so this is a rudimentary way to kind of get into transaction desk. Okay. To get that up there, and we don't need to see me anymore. Okay, so now let me go back to the Fuse training. Let's see where we are. Adding forms, we did that. Uploading PDFs, we did that. Designing and signing, so we did that. Now let's go to a purchase. Okay, so kind of the same thing, a little bit similar. Let's do a new purchase. Create a transaction. And we will do, let's see, Kelly purchase. This is a residential sale, yes. Select source, we'll do Paragon. I will select a purchase, let's see right here, if I can get that. Copy, where am I? Transaction desk, MLS number, paste, oh good, it worked. And I am the selling agent, okay? And let's use Wizard. Sorry, Shannon, if you're out there, I'm using one of yours as an example. I can talk today. It's these darn allergies. Okay, new transaction is created. Just make sure the information is correct. There's the address. This one's in Idaho. Oh, property information. Yeah, Kootenai, Idaho. Huh. 472 is the purchase price. Okay, next. Purchase and sale agreement date. So I want to, actually I shouldn't manipulate this too much. Otherwise she's gonna be like, what did you do to my transaction? But that's where you put in the purchase and sale agreement date today, offer expiration date tomorrow, mutual acceptance date. Actually, we can do that. I can undo this stuff. Purchase today, offer expiration tomorrow, mutual acceptance, we don't have that yet. Closing date, I'd like it to be a month away, and possession on closing. Next. That's Bambi's selling broker, boom, boom, boom. So I'm going to send it over to Bambi, the listing broker. I'm the selling broker. Next. Forms. So we have to add the forms we want in our offer. Statewide forms. So we always start with seller disclosure. Oh, that should be there. I should check the listing and see if it's there. Hold on a second. Let's check this listing. Documents. No, nothing there. Oh, there it is. Deed of trust. Slow computer. Big files. Okay. Okay, so that's a good example of a document that comes from a title company. I've got the deed of trust here. There may be some initials that are needed in here. So this is where you can review the documents. Let me go back here so I can get back into transaction desk. Okay, but primarily here in Washington, we use Form 21. That's the purchase and sale agreement. A financing addendum typically, because most people are financing their properties. If it's a cash sale, you don't need this. Financing addendum is, and it's a good way to protect your clients. There's usually a way to get out of a transaction with the financing addendum, and the inspection addendum is also very important. Loan information, we don't need that. Optional clauses, possibly. It might be a neighborhood review or something that you want in there. Lead-based paint, hopefully they have that already. Identification of utilities, we can add that. And that just means they're going to be paying the utilities at closing and make sure all those debts are settled. Short sale. I use the title contingency, and I know a lot of people don't, but I just want to make sure there's a clean title. I've just seen too many title problems. That's a reason for title insurance. You just want to make sure it's a clean title and that your client can get a title policy, insurance policy. Okay, so we're kind of moving through these, and then of course the inspection addendum, always very important. Even if your client wants to waive the inspection addendum, then print this out and get them to initial at the bottom, waiving the inspection. If you're in a really hot market like Seattle, there's typically a pre-inspection done, so that's usually in the documents that you can review. Escalation as well. If you're in a really hot market, you probably need an escalation clause. Feasibility, don't really need that. Neighborhood review, so on and so forth. If you need to make it very clear what your commission is, like if it's a FSBO, for sale by owner, this is a good one. Selling firm's commission. It basically says you are paying me 3% for this transaction. And then agency disclosure. It's a decent one. Again, especially if it's dual agency. You want to make sure that the parties know. And in this case, it would be dual agency because they're two Kelly Wright agents. You want to make sure that all the parties sign and acknowledge that it's dual agency and that one company is representing both parties. So that's really about it. So we're going to add all those forms. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so they're all right there. Don't want to exit yet. We want any additional documents that we want to upload. Maybe let's go take a look at that one. No, we don't want that. Get rid of that. There we go. And let's save as. So this is something we can save as on my desktop as a PDF, Adobe Save. Okay. Back to transaction desk. Sorry, the tabs are a little goofy. When I minimize the screen, it kind of goes up to my tabs, so I gotta kind of throw it around there a little bit. Okay, so we're going to add something here. Remember, we drag and drop. Where's that form? There it is. Boom. I drag and drop that from my desktop into my drag and drop box. Okay, let's make sure it's that deed of trust writer. Oh, there it is. Ta-da. Okay, good. So we've got an uploaded PDF, and again, this could be anything. It's an example of how to upload a PDF. So we've got our documents. We're done. Okay. Detail overview. And now, this is actually I kind of skipped over this. Let's go back to the details on the, oops, back here, back to forms that we have. Where are my forms? Forms. Kelly purchase. There we go. Forms. Took a while. So here's where residential purchase and sale agreement. Here's where you're going to fill out everything. You're going to be buyer, Joe Kelly, seller is someone. Actually, we'll do Frank Lutz. Lutz. Okay, so Frank is the seller. Property, there's the property, all this stuff. Yeah, we want the stove, refrigerator, washer, dryer. Purchase price, we're going to offer them $450. And earnest money, $3,000. A check held by closing agent. Try not to let the selling firm hold earnest money. They can manipulate it a little bit easier that way. And so make sure that a neutral party, the closing agent, has it. Title insurance, we could go FATCO, First American Title Company. Closing agent, the same, FATCO. Closing dates there, possession on closing, Form 22K. Anything after closing assumed by the buyer, seller is not a foreign person, and listing broker represents buyer. I'm sorry, selling broker represents buyer, listing broker represents seller. Then you can put all the addenda in here and stuff like that, but I won't bother with that. Okay, now all this information is here on us, and we save. Okay, so now up here are going to be all our forms. So we've got seller disclosure, residential purchase and sale, financing optional, identification of utilities, title contingency inspection, escalation, and agency disclosure. I think it's important to go back to some of these. Let's see, what am I looking for here? Let's say financing addendum. Go back and review and make sure all of the fields are done properly, because sometimes I've had like my name not show up there, or something doesn't show up and it's a little goofy. It could be user error. Most likely it probably is, but you do want to check that. And then you also, like in this financing contingency, we'll do a conventional first with 20% down. So that should get us under the conventional ceiling. Loan information, no. Loan cost provisions. So this is where traditionally we would ask, for 3% closing costs. In this case, that would be way too much because that's like $13,000. So reasonable closing costs on something like this are going to be $6,000. So you do 1.5, or you could do $6,000. Of course, in a hot market, Seattle, Portland right now, no one's asking for closing costs. And again, the lender can pay the closing costs. If your clients if they're spent, they don't have any more money, the seller's not going to pay it, but they need to get those closing costs taken care of. The lender can do it. Typically, it just depends on the interest rate. Again, that's part of the Fuse training that we're going to be getting into in the next few weeks, is how to use that better interest rate to either have more purchase power or to eliminate the closing costs. And what we find is that we can usually raise up our interest rate a quarter point. It's still better than the big banks, and then they get those closing costs taken care of by the lender. So just a side note, I don't know if any of you guys have allergies, but man, they're just starting to really pop right now.
We have somebody sent me a private question. Do you need to research the seller on a purchase and sale, or is it normal to expect the listing agent to identify in response? I believe that's what he means.
Let's clarify that. What do you mean to research the seller?
Yeah, let me ask.
Are they a legitimate seller? Are they?
Yeah, I believe this. Is it up to the selling agent to? Or is it normal to expect this?
We can only kind of count on the information that we have. I mean, one way to research the seller is to pull county records. And again, you look at that preliminary title report. Is Frank Lutz really on the title? Does he really own the property, or is it owned by someone else? And occasionally you find that, where, you know, Frank Lutz got a divorce and his wife actually is on title and he's trying to pull a fast one or something. I mean, there's always something screwy in real estate. So yeah, if you want to reference the authenticity of the seller, go ahead and check the title report. Go to county records as well. Just go to the Spokane assessor, the King County assessor, the Multnomah assessor, whomever, and they'll have that information in there. So yeah, we've kind of got some information in here. All that looks pretty good. Again, file, save, boom. Just keep saving in case of, in my case, often user errors. So I want to make sure I can go back and I've got all that. So now I want to go back to transaction forms. Financing, optional clauses, I don't think there's going to be really much in there that you want. Sometimes square footage, lot size, and encroachments is a good one. Again, if there's, let's say a neighbor claims that the fence is 5 feet on the wrong side of the property, well, that could be an issue right there. The listing says 10,000 square foot lot and county records say 9,000 square feet. Okay, well, we want to verify that. So this is a place where you'll do that. Standard owner's policy there. You know, cleaning, I really don't care about that. Personal utilities, not a big deal there. Homeowners association review, that's good because you do have to get a lot of information from a homeowners association. The CC&Rs, homeowner association policies, what their fees and fines and meetings are and all that stuff. So that's a good chance to review all that. Excluded items right there, you know, it could be, you know, chandelier. Something. Home warranty, if you want to offer a home warranty, this is where you put it in there, or other, you know, wants tractor with property. And if you do a tractor, I just made that up, but I have had that happen before with a boat and stuff like that. If you do a big item like that, you have to add a bill of sale and the VIN numbers on there. So you want to make sure it's very clean. And in this, it would be add tractor VIN number, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you want to make sure that that is very, very clear that it's that vehicle that's going with the property and there's a separate bill of sale with it. And the bill of sale can be zero, but it's part of the transaction. Okay, so let's say we save this and on to the next form, transaction forms. We've got financing, we've got our optional clauses, identification of utilities. Pretty simple. I mean, water district could be City of Seattle, sewer district the same, City of Seattle. Electricity could be, you know, inland power, power, and so on and so forth. So it's just a good way, and actually most closing agents kind of know what's going on. Where this form it gets really helpful is when you're kind of out in the boonies, or if it's a PUD or something like that. So, you know, most of Seattle, for example, is City of Seattle, utilities, and then Seattle City Light for electricity. But let's say you get out of Seattle and you're down in, you know, wherever, Yelm or outside of Kent, and there's some little PUD, some development there. It's a special, you know, there's a special area that they serve. Well, you're going to want to put that information in here because that's where the bill is coming from. And the idea behind this is that we make sure that the bills are paid at closing. We don't want our buyer to get stuck with anything. Okay, so save, bam, and off to the next one. Identification, utilities, title, inspection. Ooh. Again, very important. You know, the state frowns, and judges would frown on you talking a client out of the inspection addendum. So you want them to get an inspection. You want to make it very clear, hey, if you're not going to get an inspection, then I need you to click here, waiver of inspection, and initial this form. But typically, we want an inspection. Okay, boom, inspection contingency. I like sewer system inspections. It's really important, especially for older houses. My house in Seattle, we bought it a month later, the clay pipes broke. And so we had to trench out and dig out the whole thing. Some people get goofy that way, and they're like, well, you didn't disclose this, but it was really my fault. Actually, it was no one's fault. It was just an old house. And eventually those things were going to break. But I learned there that on these older houses, you really want to do a sewer inspection, a sewer line inspection, see if there's a bunch of roots in there, if there's some crumbling clay tiles that they used to use. If it's a newer house, probably not a big deal. It's got better materials and a better conduit to the sewer system. Anyway, so typically it's like $100, extra $100, $120, something like that. So a sewer inspection is pretty important. To do additional inspections, you can do that. Buyer's reply, those are all just the dates. And again, this is paperwork that you guys should be familiar with. If not, read it over. Neighborhood review, a little bit goofy there. It can come into play. I mean, I would do it just because I always remember a buyer that I was showing houses in Ballard to. And it was right behind Ballard High School. And in the day, it looked great. We went back to the house at night, and the stadium lights were on. And these bright lights were shining into the back windows and the back patio. And the buyers were just like, no, I don't want this thing. There's a lot of different things that can happen. I mean, it could be crime. It could be, you know, an ice cream truck driving by cranking really loud music. You're like, I don't want to be here in this neighborhood. But anyway, so you can review the neighborhood, and you've got that time to do that. You guys are probably wondering, how does this guy make this stuff up? Some of it's real. Other stuff I just make up. I have a lot of kids, so we live in fantasy land a lot. Okay, so transaction forms. Boom, we're good. Let's save it. And let's get to the last couple. Now, escalation. And again, I want you guys to familiarize yourself with the forms and the verbiage in these forms. We kind of went over them in the first week. But just to reiterate, increase in amount of $1,000 not to exceed $460. In this case, I try not to do even numbers. I would do 461. Okay, so we're making an offer of $450, but I'll go $11,000 higher in increments of $1,000. So if another offer comes in and it's at $458, then I would win, presumably. I mean, they don't have to take the offer, but I would be at $459. Okay, competing offer, blah, blah, blah. This part is filled out when the transaction is completed. So this is the information on that competing offer and what your final offer is going to be. So, but for now, we want to save it and go back down to agency disclosure. Again, I see the CRUD. You guys probably don't see this a lot, but when I have to deal with 2,800 transactions a year, we do see goofy things happen with dual agency, misrepresentation, I mean, all sorts of goofy stuff. So this is a clear way to just go, hey, you know what? Undersigned broker represents the buyer. And then my buyer basically signs here, and then I sign here, and so we know clearly what's happening there. And it's a good form to have. It's not required, but it keeps things very clean if there's ever a question. Okay, so save. And, okay, we've gone through all our transaction forms. Okay, good. Now let's get back into our transaction. Kelly purchase. Details, loading, overview. I've got the deed writer in here, so that's good. And we've got all our forms right here, so that's good. Everything looks good. So now we want to sign. Add signing name is going to be Joe Kelly. Transaction is going to be Kelly purchase. Save. So now we know who's signing, and what transaction they're signing. Okay, so details, Joe Kelly, advanced options, that looks good. Participants. Really just, I'm the buyer, so I'm also the agent of the buyer, so just bear with me on that. So I'm going to be signing just this one because it's just an offer. And remote signer, don't need to add anybody. Actually, no, we do need to add me. There. And again, you push on this little button a couple times if it doesn't work, and then fill out the red fields. So jkelly@kellywright.com. That's all fine. So save participant. I would love to think I'm on the beaches in Maui, but I'm not. Okay, so we want to have all of these forms signed. Okay, add.
Hey, Joe, Kevin asks, on the listing agreement form, do we, the agent, need to sign under the listing broker section?
Yes, the agent always needs to sign that listing agreement. Okay, okay. Please check, everyone. It's just going to be me. Okay, let's take a look. We've got these documents here that need to be designed. So if it's got the little yellow fields, there's a signature spot already uploaded, but this is going to be that deed of trust rider and the agency disclosure. So we're going to need to get those designed. So all that looks pretty good, so now let's go design it. And again, I apologize for how slow my computer is. I've been told by many people around the office I need a new computer. But until it conks out on me, I'm going to keep using it. Term broker is confusing. Yeah, brokers, agents, it's just realtors. It's just goofy. So realtor is actually just an association. Not everybody's a realtor. Probably a third of the agents in the Northwest MLS are realtors. I would prefer not to be a realtor. I liked not being a realtor. You just pay a bunch of fees. The fees are higher. You don't get anything out of it. And they're a very self-righteous group. So sorry, now I guess you guys know my opinion on it. Denver and Seattle are the two big metro areas that aren't realtor associations. So, and then in Washington, we're brokers, managing brokers, designated brokers. Oregon is brokers and principal broker. I just got my license in Alabama, where I'm a qualifying broker, and they're agents down there. So qualifying broker and agents. Idaho, they're agents and designated broker. So it's just goofy. Around the office, I use agent and broker because I just want to keep it consistent as a company policy. Someone with a very large ego at the state of Washington made that change a couple years ago, and it didn't make any sense. But they talked themselves into it, and they thought it made a lot of sense. So, whatever, we have to live with it. Okay. So here's the one where, and again, we're buying this, so this is something where we would just be, these are all initialed and filled out. And this is where we would go, okay, we have to acknowledge, oh, there it is. Oh, God, we don't want that. So let's delete that, and let's delete that. So again, it's good to review where these fields are, but we do want to sign that because we want to make sure that we acknowledge that we've read this, but we're not giving up any rights, okay? Seller's initials there, and then there's purchase and sale. Everything looks good there. Initials, 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 initials. Okay, all of that's there. We've checked the documents, so we know that they're what we want. The right price, the right escalation, all the terms that we're asking for. Hey, there's our tractor. Identification of utilities, initial, initial, initial. So good, good, good. All of that stuff is there. Okay, now this guy, signature, let's design it. So drag and drop, sign here, and date here. Okay? So there we go. Next. Oh, crud. We still had another document. That's all right. This will be a good example about going back. Close. Let's go back to design. Got to prepare that document.
Sophie just wants to note that you had too many commas or something in your purchase price, and it ended up being $4 million. But since this is a fictitious,
That'd be great. Like somebody
be in trouble otherwise.
Someone's going to have a heart attack, and someone's going to be happy. But yes, there are ways to go back, and yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool. Hey, it happens in Seattle. I don't even think we have a $4 million place over here. North Idaho's got a bunch. But Spokane, that's maybe 2.5, 3 million of the biggest listings. Okay, so we go back through all this stuff. I suppose I can go this way. And we get down there at the bottom. Okay, there's that deed of trust rider. So we want to do our drag and drop. And this is something we just want to initial because we want to acknowledge that we have seen it. Okay, so everything is in the right place, and that's the key to all this. Oh, we should probably initial this one too. It's 2 pages. And, 3 pages. Initial. And 4 pages. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so we've this 26-page offer. We've kind of got it set. We're pretty much ready to go. Got all the initials and signatures in the right place. We've got the right kind of offer, the right numbers, except for the $4.5 million. Thanks, Sophie. But we'll just go with it. Next. Excuse me. Okay. Customize our invitations. J. Kelly, subject, offer on North Idaho property. You know, please review and sign /initial where indicated. Okay, so a little message to them, custom email. Again, they can pull this up on their phone if they get their emails over their phone. And we save and we send. There it is. Authentisign invitations were successfully sent. Okay. So,
just a quick question.
Yeah.
What happens if, let's say you did make a mistake, you didn't review your documents, and you offered $4.5 million on a, that's an obvious mistake, but could could something like that get you in trouble or be a better fix?
It's just a mistake. And so I'd be like, oh my gosh, I sent the wrong number. So,
just do an addendum or?
Yeah, you could fix it. You could redo it.
Okay.
Go back here. So we'd have to load everything up again and then redo it. In this case, let's see, forms, purchase and sale. Go back down here and go, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. So 450, bam. Okay, there, that looks better. Now, I would save it. And we're going to sign. It's loading. Yes, Donna. Yeah, it'll go. You can set 2 emails in there. So again, I'm just going off me signing. So we've got this, and here, this one right there. I can just go to add. So that's just the specific residential purchase and sale agreement that has been corrected. So seller. Why is that not? Why am I not here? Let's go back here. Purchase and sale participants. There we go. So Joe Kelly's going to have to sign this one again. And right here, Donna, this is where, why am I doing that? back. This is where it would show the signers. So yeah, Joe Kelly, and let's say it's my wife, Mary Kelly, she would be on here as well. And then you would just put the email into both of them. Actually, you know what, let's add someone. Add a new participant. That'd be a good example. So, oops. Hello, there we go. Mary Kelly, email, J. Kelly, add Kelly right now. Custom signature, no, I don't want that. That'll just hold up the process. Okay. So we're going, I've done this before where they only have one email, and so you send it to the same email. And, you know, most likely it's just one person signing for both of them. But let's just add this second signer. So I want to make sure that her email is good. Yep, that's good. Save participant. And then my email is good. Do this double clicking thing. God, I don't know why. It's just such a goofy little glitch that you can't. Oh, this one's bad today. Huh. I don't know why this is not opening up. Missing required information. I'm trying to put the required information. Select the I. Oh, thank you. Nope. Didn't even do that. Usually I have to click it twice. Goofy. Come on. Huh. All right. Well, we're going to do it a different way. So I'm going to X me out of here.
Leslie said select the I.
So yeah, I tried that. Didn't work.
Oh, you did.
Do you want to continue? Yes. So we're going to do, we're going to add another person, add a new participant. That's going to be Joe Kelly and email jkelly, kellywright.com. Okay. Add. Let's see if that works. There we go. So now they're clean. We don't have the little hand there. Okay. We want these two, Joe and Mary. Documents. Okay, so we've got residential purchase and sale. We've got to re-sign these. Let's do this. Let's design. I just want to show you the design when you have two people. It's not tricky, but you just have to know where to look for it.
While you're waiting, there was a question sent. It's the forms in the purchase and sales show up as they were dropped into the transaction, but there is a preferred. Is there a preferred order of common forms on a purchase and sale, like i.e. Form 21, Exhibit A?
I guess I would go with the most important. So the purchase and sale is the most important. The finance addendum is second. The inspection addendum would be third. And then the rest of them, just whatever order. And that's just kind of how I do it. It doesn't really matter. So as long as you've got them in there and they're correct. See, there's our $450,000, our adjusted price. Now, here's the thing with this. So signers. So let's go down here. Signers. Mary Kelly, drag and drop. So this will be a Mary Kelly and date. Then you go back up here to Joe Kelly. So then Joe Kelly also signs on this offer. Okay. So and the initials as well. So I keep it here, initials JK, and back to Mary. Oops. Get rid of that. Delete. Drag and drop. Initials MK. Okay. So and so on and so forth. Initial each of these, and I don't know why there's two of them here, but more the merrier. Okay, so we've got that. The signatures and the initials are in the right spot. And now we're just going to load the whole thing up and get ready to send it again. You know, and typically this is where you want to make a phone call. Just say, hey, oops, you know, I put the wrong number in there, so sign the second email. Oops, had the wrong purchase price in there. Please, whoops, please sign this one to replace the previous PSA. Okay. So we save that, and then we send our invitations. So now effectively they have two emails. They have one with the $4.5 million price, and now they've got the correct one with the $450,000 price. Okay. Now I don't know, let's see how the servers go. So these emails have been sent. I'm going to do a couple things here. I am going to block the screen because I don't want you guys to see all my emails, and you can still hear me. I'm going to pull up my email. And let's see if it came through.
Yes, Sophie, this is to the seller. And I think Joe's opening up his email right now to show you how it looks in his email, and you sign it.
So it's loading up. Since I've been talking to you guys, looks like it's going to be roughly 27 emails.
That ain't bad.
No, that's not too bad. So I do not see it in my email yet. Nope. Nope, not seeing it. So it's probably in the pipe right now. Oh, wait, here we go. Aha, okay, came through. And bingo. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click here to begin the signing process. So again, remember, I'm in Maui, and I'm sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, which I really have never done before. Well, the combination of the two. I've done them separately. So it's loading up the document. And then I'm going to go ahead and sign it by just clicking on the tabs. Okay, so accept the signature. Okay, now it's loaded the documents, and all I have to do is hit the start button and hit sign here, initial here, and complete signing. So I've completed the signing, and say no thanks. Okay. Boom. Thank you for using the AuthentiSign system. So I'll show you guys that. Do the screen again. Okay. Okay, here you go. So there's the AuthentiSign. I just e-signed everything, and that information is being sent back to me as the real estate agent. So now I can retrieve that, and it should also be in my transaction desk. Okay, so let's go back to transaction desk, and it's right there. So residential purchase, original document. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Let's kind of refresh and reload, see if they come through. Okay, so we've got this Kelly purchase. I'm going to open it up. It's loading the documents. Email documents, document upload. AuthentiSign. So down here in the corner, I think this is where it shows up. Authenticated, signed, and the flags. I think that means finished. So document, let's take a look at it. And voila. So there's my signature on the adjusted $450,000 purchase, date right there, and some initials. I didn't go through the whole thing because I didn't really want to. So upload or view as a PDF. So let's upload it into Dropbox, Google Drive, to the cloud, whatever you want to do. If you want to go that way, or view it as a PDF. In this case, I typically do PDFs because I just work with them better. Okay, so there it is. There's my signature. This is the offer. And I can basically save as Kelly Purchase, Adobe. I'll save it in my desktop. Save. And then I can take it and I can email it. So if I open up my email and then I've got this whole purchase and sale there, I can email it off to the other agent and say, hey, we've got this great offer, you know, please accept our offer, and so on and so forth. So you guys know how to do that part. This is more just the transaction desk part. So let's get out of here. Close. There. So it's always going to be in there, this document right down here if you need it. Let's cancel that. So here we are. Now let's go back to the dashboard. And there we go. So that's my agent dashboard. So when I need to go back in, let's say it's, you know, a day goes by and I want to review the form. I wasn't sure if I checked a certain box or whatever the case might be. I can go back down here to Authentisign, okay, and I can pull it up. Go to signings. This is all my signings right here. Good. So everything's there, authenticated and signed. Looks good. There's my document. Now, if you have 10 documents in there, like we did on the other one, they're all going to show up right here. So you can go to the escalation addendum, you can go to the inspection addendum, whatever you need to, and see it signed. If you need to send it to somebody, perfect. Then the original document is also here. So that should be the document without the signatures.
So when you email this to the other agent, you would email the PSA and then the other documents as separate. You got those signed by your client.
As far as like the screw up goes, what I would do is I would pull those others out, the $4.5 million one, and then replace it with the new one that was correct and create one PDF. So you can clean it up that way.
Combine all the PDFs together.
Combine it all together so that you've got it real clean. You know, or you could just send two PDFs. You could send one without the $4.5 million and then send the separate adjusted $450,000 purchase and sale. And then just explain it. Just say, hey, I've got a separate purchase and sale, and then all the other documents are in this PDF. Please open both and have your client sign them and accept our offer.
Now, on the flip side, if you receive an offer on your listing, you're gonna receive a lot in your email. You're gonna take that, upload it into transaction desk, and have your email it to your client, have it signed around.
Correct. Yeah. So you basically have received an offer. It's been emailed back. Yep. You've got this big PDF with all sorts of signatures, and typically at that point it's signed around. But and then you want to send the PDF to your client and make sure that we have a copy, and then you've got a copy. Print out a copy for escrow. Bring in the earnest money check within 24 hours, please. Get an earnest money receipt and all that good stuff. So now we're on the clock. You know, now typical real estate transaction work needs to be done. We need to get our earnest money in. We need to order the inspection. We need to talk to the lender, make sure the client has applied for their loan. They have 3 days to get that application in, but best to do it right away. And so all those things, all those wheels are starting to turn. It just happens when you get that accepted offer back. And once the wheels are turning, then the process just begins. So that is Transaction Desk in a nutshell. And again, we have Form Simplicity in Idaho. There's different platforms, but we're all going to this. We're all basically going to be using this type of platform to do our transactions. And then the documents are always there. You know, if it's a year later, you can go back in here and you can go ahead and retrieve the document. If you lost something, if you want to print them up as a paper file or something like that, they're all right here. So, yeah. Any questions? Let's see here. I'm going to open up the chat room because I've missed all those.
We're pretty caught up.
Are we? Okay, good.
Are you gonna go through entering a listing? Was that on the agenda, or?
Yeah, we already did that to start off with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were gonna go into a little bit more.
I don't know. Does anyone want me to go back?
Yeah, I don't think you missed anything.
If they want me to, I can. I don't have a problem doing that. But okay. I think the key to this really right now is to play with it. So if you're uncomfortable doing it with a client, just set up a random transaction. Go ahead, just kind of what we did, and play with it and play with the fields. Again, there's a couple glitchy things in there, you know, trying to get that email in there. I kept clicking that. The pens, there's a bunch of different like signing icons, and it doesn't always get you to where you want to be. Remember that the documents down here, these are the PDF documents that you are going to design, whereas the transaction documents are up here. So it's kind of two different places for them. But play with it. If you just set up a you know, a fake scenario and email it to your significant other, to your Uncle Fred, and just say, hey, I'm trying to get a feel for this, and play with it, email it out, have it come back. You can sign it yourself, go to your own email and sign. So you can play with this. It doesn't, you know, it's not like it's an official offer just because it's in there. And after this, I'll go and delete it. But anyway, okay, so any other questions? Alex, you seeing anything come up?
No, you know, I was gonna,
oops, I don't want you to see it.
Nope.
Nope, okay. Well, everybody, that was a pretty quick one today. So again, that is week 3 of our Fuse training, electronic transactions. I really appreciate everybody joining us. If you have specific questions, go ahead and contact me directly. Contact Alex directly if you need to. We'll get you on the right page. But go in there again. I want you to go in there and play with this thing, because it does take a while to kind of learn where the icons are and how to kind of get it moving along. But it's really effective. I mean, once you do it, it's all in there. You can pull it up from anywhere. If you happen to be flying to Los Angeles tomorrow, or when you're in LA, you can have access to all the signed documents if someone needs it emailed to them. So it's a great way to just kind of store everything in there. That is it. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Next week, we're getting into finance. So there's going to be 2 separate weeks of finance, Finance 1 and Finance 2. We're going to get into all sorts of different loan scenarios, how lending affects real estate, what you want to look for as a real estate professional with any lender that you're working with, kind of timelines, what certain things mean. You know, so we'll get into the real nitty-gritty of that, and that's going to take 2 full weeks. But anyway, that is next week. Again, we're always at Wednesday at 10. This morning we had a little glitch trying to get the invites out. The system wasn't letting me do it, then Alex took over and he did it. Again, a lot of user error whenever I'm dealing with technology. So I appreciate being in here, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.